This is part two. Monday evening was part one. And Monday evening was in honor of Mahashivaratri, 2 days after Mahashivaratri, but in honor of Lord Shiva. We discussed the interactions of Lord Shiva with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the interactions of Lord Shiva with Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. And this evening is interactions of Lord Shiva with Lord Ramachandra and Lord Sankarshan. That's our topic. If you want to see those that missed from Monday evening, it was recorded, right? Yeah, so lots of details. And with Lord Ramachandra. Now, it's not abundant, but it's all very interesting. This is a painting showing Sita proving her purity by entering into fire after Ravana was killed. They're still in Lanka. There's different versions of Ramayana besides Valmiki Ramayana, but a common version is that Ramachandra refused to accept until Sita proved her purity. He didn't have a doubt, but people would have doubts, and so that's what happened, at least in some versions of Ramayana, and Sita entered into fire. And there's different versions of what happened after that. Those of you that read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you know that in the course of, there's a ring back in the microphone system. When Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, one of the places he stayed or was invited to have lunch was the home of a Ram Bhakta. And at the home of the Ram Bhakta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came at the appointed time. He had taken his midday bath. He had chanted his midday Gayatri. He went to the gentleman's home, and he was just sitting there in meditation. And Lord Chaitanya asked him, "My dear sir, what's your intention?" And he said, "Lakshman has gone to the forest to gather ingredients for cooking. And as soon as he comes back," he was on a platform of spontaneous devotion. Now, spontaneous devotion, generally we read about it in terms of worship of Krishna. And this is an example of, he was on the platform of spontaneous devotion, where he was it was a part of his sadhana. Lakshman is gathering ingredients in the forest. As soon as he comes back, I'll begin cooking. So after some time, he began cooking. We didn't say that Lakshman came back. He did his cooking and made his offering of lunch to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And while he was having lunch with Chaitanya, or offering lunch to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was constantly chanting Ram's name. And towards the end, he said to Lord Chaitanya, I can't break my fast now because Sita has been kidnapped. And how can I eat and maintain my life when Sita has been kidnapped? So he was in a spontaneous mood, fasting until death. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, Sita wasn't kidnapped. It was a false Sita, Maya Sita, that was kidnapped. So please take your meal. Trusting this young sannyasi, he took his meal. Then Lord Chaitanya traveled further south and he came across a place where they had a copy of Kurma Purana. And in Kurma Purana, it says that Agni, before the kidnapping of Sita, Agni came and did a switcheroo. He provided a false Sita, and he kept Sita in his care. So a false Sita was kidnapped, and then when this scene came, then Agni came. There's paintings where Agni is holding Sita in his arms, and he presents Sita to Ramachandra, and the false Sita was what entered into the fire. Kurma Purana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed long enough to get a copy of that Purana, went all the way back to where that Brahmana was residing, and said, see, I told you, here's the Kurma Purana, and it says it was a false Sita. So you now don't have to worry like this. And by the way, you were always chanting Ram's name, now you're always chanting Krishna's name. What happened? And he said, due to your influence, I'm not chanting Ram's name. It never leaves my lips to chant Krishna's name. It's a very elevated Brahmana. And by association, he became from a Ram Bhakta to a Krishna Bhakta. Now, our business is not to convert people from being Ram Bhaktas to Krishna Bhaktas, but that's what happened with this particular Vaishnav. So in some versions of Ramayana, not in all versions of Ramayana, Sita enters into fire, and the real Sita emerges from the fire, or at least her body is not burnt because she's pure. That was part of the arrangement. And the reference is who the demigods were who were watching from the sky. And there was the Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, and someone we're not sure, maybe it's Indra, in this particular painting. Here's the reference from Yuddhakanda. After Mother Sita successfully passed the trial by fire, Lord Shiva appeared in front of Lord Ram and said, Lotus-eyed, great-armed, broad-chested, scorcher of your foes, foremost of weapon-bearers, thank heavens you have accomplished this feat, that's destroying Ravana. You have dispelled in battle the vast and terrible darkness in the form of the fear of Ravana that had engulfed the entire world, more than the entire world up to the heavenly planets. Now you must console despondent Bharata and the illustrious Kaushalya and Kaikeyi. Notice someone's name is not mentioned. And Lakshman's mother Sumitra, there it is. You must assume the kingship of Ayodhya and reward all your allies. Then, mighty hero, you must establish the continuation of the exalted lineage of Ikshvaku. At last, when you have offered the horse sacrifice and attained unsurpassed glory, you should give away your wealth to the Brahmanas and ascend to Swargaloka. And we came across this reference on Monday. Valmiki Ramayana doesn't refer to Vaikuntha. It refers to Swarga, which is different than the description given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And here, in his flying chariot, is your father, King Dasarath, who, in the world of men, was your illustrious elder. Saved by you, his son, the majestic king has attained the world of Indra together with Lakshmana You must now respectfully salute him. So no problem. But he had gone to Swarga, and he came from Swarga to give his association to Lord Ramachandra, according to Yuddha Kanda and Valmiki Ramayana. Upon Ram's return back to Ayodhya with Pushpaka Vimana, he stopped at Setubandha. Has anyone been to Setubandha? Yeah. You've been?
No, I know.
You just know what it is. Okay. Yeah. We went on a yatra with several hundred people and went to all these places. It's a really nice place. By the way, this coming Kartik, well, it's going to be in September because of the weather situation, etc. Late September, second half of September, we're going to Badrinath. A little different than Setubandha, different direction. And as of 3 days ago, there were 557 people that pre-registered. So it's going to be quite a scene to accommodate all those people and cook for all those people and transport all those people. Different than Setubandha. So there we see Lord Ramachandra with Lakshman worshipping a Shivalinga at Setubandha. And in Tulsi's Ramacharita or the story of Lord Ramachandra that was told by Lord Shiva, it was stored in the mind of Lord Shiva. Did you know that? Ramacharita Manas, in the mind of Lord Shiva, speaking to Parvati, narrating the Charita characters, qualities, activities of Lord Ramachandra. And there's a little summary that says Lord Shiva, in that big opening section, describes 5 reasons. He describes that Ramachandra appeared on earth in different kalpas for different reasons during each of those kalpas. But some of those reasons are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Who knows the verse? Pritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskatam, dharma sangstapanartaya, sambhavami yuge yuges. Good. So those are 3. Now, I don't know what it says in Ramcharitmanas. I didn't read Ramcharitmanas. In Yuddha Kanda of Valmiki Ramayana, Lord Rama said to Sita, they came traveling over Setubandha, "See this island located in the middle of the ocean where my troops were stationed. At this place, Lord Shiva formerly bestowed his grace on me." And in another place in Valmiki Ramayana, at least another version of Valmiki Ramayana, there on the far shore is the place called Setubandha, where Lord Shiva appeared to me and the bridge construction began. Those of you from India, you're kind of used to, there are different versions of Ramayana, and it's just the way it is. There's different versions of Ramayana. And why are there different versions of Ramayana? Are some of them not correct, or one's real and the others are false, or how does it work? At least somebody that's new to all of this, that's a natural question to ask. And one of the explanations is that there are different days of Brahma, and therefore there are different varieties of the Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, and so the different narrations are not necessarily false or imprecise or fudged or something, but they're just different days of Brahma. and different, therefore, slight variations on the appearances of Lord Ramachandra. In Madhvacharya's writings, one of his celebrated writings is a commentary on Mahabharata, because there are passages in Mahabharata where in the dialogue there's a narrator speaking something about Ramchandra's pastimes. In fact, long sections, although it's a different yuga, because Ramchandra appeared previously, there's narrations of that previous history. And Madhvacharya, in his commentary, he gives 3 reasons why Ramchandra prayed to Lord Shiva at Rameshwaram. Here's one of them. Contrary to popular opinion, some people say he worshipped Lord Shiva because he wanted to overcome the sin or dosha or the fault of having killed the son of a Brahmana, because Ravana was the son of an exalted Brahmana. Rather, according to Madhvacharya, one of the reasons was because it was to rid Lord Shiva of Brahmahatya, which is a story from another Purana where Lord Shiva cut off the 5th head of Lord Brahma. That's obviously a different Brahma than the Chaturmukha Brahma. But you see the little asterisk, we'll get there in a moment. When Ramachandra saw Ram Setu, because it has the power of freeing one from sin, Ramachandra wanted sin to become free, Lord Shiva to become free from that sin. And then seeing this Ram Setu, the place where the bridge was built, he installed him. That's Madhvacharya. And the reference, the 5th head of Brahma, in Matsya Purana. Here's the set of verses. It's narrated by Lord Matsya to Vaivasvata Manu. It's also referred to in Skanda Purana, a certain section of Skanda Purana. And the details are not provided, that I could find anyways. So I don't have a copy of Matsya Purana or Skanda Purana. But it's the reference. Madhvacharya, in our disciplic line, very important personality. Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. Prior to Madhvacharya, the teachings weren't systematically presented. He systematically presented them. And one of the things about his character, he had a fascination or a fastidious tendency to gather literatures, scriptures. He had vast library. There are different explanations historically. The library burned, and so when he, in his writings, made reference to different scriptural texts, just because of his authoritativeness, they're accepted, although no one can find those books. Some say there was arson and they set fire to his library. But in any case, not all of the references made in Madhvacharya's writings are to be found in written form. That was the first of 3 reasons why Ram worshipped Lord Shiva upon reaching Setubandha. Second reason, Ram prayed to Lord Shiva to deceive evil persons, to make them believe that Lord Shiva is greater than Hari, since Ram had worshipped him. Many fall prey to this error. This is just a little summary, if that's verbatim, of what Madhvacharya writes in his Mahabharata commentary. He, Lord Ramachandra, wanted to deceive worldly people. And to deceive worldly people he worshipped, and inspired Lord Shiva to inspire people to accept the mistaken doctrine that Vishnu is superior. That's why he worshipped. Excuse me, Shiva is superior. That's why he worshipped. And his third reason, Lord Rama wanted to teach the common folk to worship all the deities, especially Rudra, as he is Mano Niyamaka, or he controls his mind. So he wanted the various worshippers to respect Lord Shiva. Now this is our preceptor in our disciplic line, Madhvacharya, writing these three things. So Ramchandra worshiped Lord Shiva. This is the place. Nice photograph. We say Setubandha, they have this other Agni Tirtham by the sea, by the shore of the sea. And, this is a nice painting showing the coronation. And during the coronation of Ramchandra, beautiful, beautiful painting. Up there in the upper right, there's the Devas, including Lord Shiva, honoring Lord Ramachandra when he's being installed as the ruler of Ayodhya. Much like the earlier section where Shiva is indicating to Ramachandra that's one of the things he should do. According to Ramcharitmanas, at the time of the coronation of Ram, Lord Shiva came before Lord Ramachandra seeking blessings to have firm devotion unto Lord Ramachandra. Not in the other Ramayanas, but that's one. In Padma Purana, Lord Shiva prays at the time of Lord's coronation. Here's the verbatim quote. "O Rama, we too," that's himself and Gauri, "are venerable to the world. You too, Sita and Ram, are always venerable to us. Gauri mutters your name. I mutter your mantra. To one desiring to die at Manikarnika and remain in half of its water, I give your emancipating mantra leading to Bhagavan." Now the translation is a little clumsy, but you get the idea. This place, Manikarnika, is a ghat in Kashi. There's a British time painting or drawing of Manikarnika Ghat. And it is said it's an auspicious place for those who are worshippers of Lord Shiva to give up their bodies and have their cremation performed at this place. He is saying in Padma Purana, to those who do like this, I mutter this emancipating mantra so they can attain you, Lord Ramachandra. Very interesting, huh? He's their devotee. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Another reference from Padma Purana. Many of you have heard this mantra before. Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Mano Rame. So, go ahead. Sahasranama. You know it. Many of you know it. Celebrated in Vaishnava Sangha is Lord Shiva speaking to Durga about the power of Ram's name. Oh, Varanana. I chant the holy name of Rama, 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 and thus enjoy this beautiful sound. This holy name of Ramachandra is equal to 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Sahasranam equals one Ram. The narration in Padma Purana says at the top here, it's Kaushika Muni. Kaushika Muni was revealed this dream, this mantra in a dream. It's a long set of prayers or stotras. And in another place, this is Ramachandra's visit to Markandeya Rishi's hermitage, which is also, his visit to Markandeya Rishi's hermitage is also found in Valmiki Ramayana, but this particular description, because here from Padma Purana at least, when Lord Rama was in Chitrakoot, he expressed his anguish due to separation from his father. Atri Muni, who was his ashram was near Chitrakoot, made a suggestion. Go to Pushkar, perform the rites for your father. Ram did that. After the rites, Lakshmana began to behave differently and refused to serve Lord Ram and Sita. That's not Lakshman. Ram understood that Lakshman was exhibiting the nature of this holy place, Kshetra, which makes a person behave selfishly. Seeking restoration of Lakshmana's true nature, Lord Ram prayed to Lord Shiva at a temple in Pushkar. Now, this is not narration that we commonly hear, but it's Padma Purana is quite authoritative. So, Lord Rama appealed to Shiva this way, and here's Shiva's reply. You are the Supreme Lord who has appeared in a human form, which the world adores. With you as their Lord, the Devatas will enjoy happiness for a long time. Those men on earth who will see you having returned to Ayodhya after 14 years have elapsed will be happy here in this world and will also have an unending residence in the eternal realm Vaikuntha, which is quite different language than Valmiki Ramayana. In Valmiki Ramayana, his abode is Swarga. In Padma Purana, it's Vaikuntha or Ayodhya. Go back to the city of Ayodhya after having done a great mission for the Devatas. So he was praying to Lord Shiva to restore his brother to be normal again. We all know this is universal. When he went with Vishwamitra Muni to the palace of King Janak, the plan was there was a festival for Ramachandra, any potential husband of Sita, to string the bow. It's a nice painting. There's Vishwamitra Muni, very tall and stoic, with his nice wooden shoes. And there's the cart with so many wheels and 30 men to pull the cart, etc., etc. And many kings and princes had come and unable to lift the bow, what to speak of string the bow, and nonchalantly Ramchandra lifted the bow, strung the bow, and broke the bow. So there's Ramachandra. Look behind behind King Janak, and there's his daughter. She looks like a little girl. But she was younger, but these bows, there's a whole history, Puranic history behind these two bows, the bow of Shiva and the bow of Vishnu. And the circumstance was Vishvakarma had made these two bows for these two lords, and The bow to Lord Shiva was given by Vishwakarma, who the demigods were worshipping Lord Shiva for protecting them, and Vishwakarma was commissioned to make this nice bow. He gave the bow to Lord Shiva after Daksha Yajna. And the bow that was given to Lord Shiva was passed on through a line of kings. King Nimi was the eldest son of Devarata. Devarata gave his bow to his son, and after generations and generations, the bow became the bow that Janaka had, the bow of Lord Shiva. And finally, the interaction between Lord Shiva and Lord Ramachandra. Lengthy description from, again, Madhvacharya in his Mahabharata commentary. It's also found in the Uttarakanda. This isn't a cut and paste, it's just a general description. When Lord Rama ruled the earth, it attained the exalted status of Satyaloka. The Devatas wanted a distinct place for their own loka and for Lord Ram to come to their loka. So they requested Brahma for themselves to get the fortune received by denizens of earth, because denizens of earth had the opportunity to associate with Ramchandra. The demigods didn't have, so the demigods wanted. So Lord Brahma was approached to help. Lord Shiva conveyed the message of all the devatas in secrecy to Lord Ram. He said, Lord Brahma is your son. I am your grandson. The meritorious accede to the appeal of their grandchildren more than their own children. Hence, I humbly beg of you to return to your abode. This is Lord Shiva to Lord Ramchandra in a private conversation. Now, saying Brahma is your son means he's addressing, Lord Shiva is addressing Lord Ramachandra as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, right? Clear? So as your grandson, as your son, please comply. Ram agreed to this. When Ram, along with his associates, left this world, he stayed in the realm of the Devatas in one form. In his second form, he resided in Satyaloka, worshipped by Lord Brahma. And in his third form, he resided in his own resort in Vaikuntha. It's a detail not often narrated, but it's in Uttarakanda section of Ramayana and confirmed by Madhvacharya. Expansion in his original in Ayodhya. And last, here's, we saw this on Monday. There's Lord Chaitanya with Advaita Acharya and Lord Nityananda on the cover of a book written by Murari Gupta. Remember the book? Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya by Murari Gupta. So there's one section being quoted here. Sri Ramachandra, the cause of the cosmic manifestation, showed his universal form to Shiva. Didn't know that. Ramchandra showed his universal form to Lord Shiva. And thereafter he performed further human-like activities. Now Murari Gupta is, we discussed this, very elevated person, a Brahmana, and very dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya, and a very dear devotee of Lord Ramachandra. We discussed this a little bit. Huh? So Hanuman is a very dear devotee of Lord Ramachandra. So he was requested by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chant Krishna's name. Why are you always chanting Ram's name? Chant Krishna's name. He couldn't. He went back crying the next day. Please take this instruction away and give me another one. Always chant Ram's name. So he's a dear devotee of Lord Ramachandra. In his book about Lord Chaitanya, he makes this reference to Lord Ramachandra. Showed his universal form to Shiva, and then thereafter performed further human activities, human-like activities. Now, this is a shorter section, but Lord Sankarshan. Now, who is Lord Sankarshan? Little scriptural education. Oh, no, wait. And many of you have seen that really fantastic poster drawn largely from Sri Brahma Samhita. Golokanamni nijadamni taleja tasya Devi Maheshu Haridama Suteshu Teshu. So it's describing the hierarchy of planets, and Devi Dham is where we are. Above Devi Dham is Mahesh Dham. Above Mahesh Dham is Haridam. Topmost of the Haridam planets is Ayodhya Dham in the Vaikuntha realm. And above them all, hierarchy, direction, not just geographic, but in spiritual significance, is Goloka. And then there's details and details and details about Goloka. And one of the details about Goloka is there are quadrants in Goloka. Quadrants means 4 divisions in Goloka, where there are expansions, the Chatur Vyuha, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, that first expansion in Goloka. And then the Sankarshan expands as Narayana in Vaikuntha. It's not like chronology, it's hierarchy or ontology. And then from that Narayana, a second quadruple expansion. So the second quadruple expansion, same 4 names, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So they have their places in Vaikuntha. And Jiva Goswami comments about that second Sankarshan in Vaikuntha in Paramatma Sandarbha. Very first text of Paramatma Sandarbha, he identifies who is Sankarshan. And he makes reference to 5th canto Bhagavatam, because in 5th canto Bhagavatam, it's a depiction of Vedic cosmology, or a big part of it, Vedic cosmology. So he describes from 5th canto Bhagavatam, that Sankarshan and the Purusha. What's the Purusha? The Purusha means Vishnu expansions that create the universe and maintain the universe and sanction the destruction of the universe. That Sankarshan and the Purusha are the origin of Shiva, is confirmed by scripture. Prakritim Atmana Sankarshana Sangyam. Shiva worships Sankarshana, his source. So it's a BBT painting depicting something we're going to hear a little bit further about. Notice in the painting, there's a lot of Devis. There's one, principal one, that's Parvati, or Uma Devi, and millions of other expansions of her. And they're seated under a banyan tree, and he's meditating on his source, Lord Sankarshan. Here's a graphic depiction of the same. And the upper one, that's the Mount Sumeru, that tall mountain that's shaped like we've never seen a mountain shaped. Narrow at the bottom and broad at the top. No such mountain that we've seen. And Sumeru is that type of mountain. And there's other mountain ranges at the base of Mount Sumeru, and they indicate different varshas or tracts of land. And the lower graphic is two-dimensional, and the very bottom, the letters are small, but it's Bharat Varsha. And then there's a row of islands, and then there's Kim Purusha Varsha, then it's a row of mountains, then Hari Varsha. And then the center is Alavrita Varsha, that square of the different varshas. So it's 3 plus 3 plus 3. How many is 3 plus 3 plus 3? Oh, very good. You looked a little bored, so I want you to be involved. 3 plus 3 plus 3. So there's 9 varshas in Bhumandala. Bharata Varsha is one of the 9, and Ilavrita Varsha is at the center of the 9 varshas. And here's a description from Srimad Bhagavatam. In Ilavrita Varsha, Lord Shiva is always encircled by 10 billion maidservants of Goddess Durga. We saw a few of them, but 10 billion is more than what an artist can put in one painting. They minister to him. The quadruple expansion of the Supreme Lord is composed of Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Sankarshan, and Aniruddha Sankarshan. The fourth expansion is certainly transcendental, but because his activities of destruction in the material world are in the mode of ignorance, he is known as Tamasi, the Lord's form in the mode of ignorance. Lord Shiva knows that Sankarshana is the original cause of his own existence, and thus he always meditates upon him in trance. So that's the relationship between, or interaction between, Lord Shiva and Sankarshan, his source and his object of meditation. Next, there's a little history in the 4th canto Bhagavatam where Lord Shiva appears out of a lake because the sons of King Prachini Bari, 10 in number, called the Prachetas, were requested by King Prachini Bari to assist him in filling up the universe with good praja, to assist him in the Prajapati program. So they agreed. But they didn't just go get married and produce children. They went first to become purified, to have quality consciousness so they could produce quality children. And so their plan, it was Satya Yuga, was to enter into this lake and for 10,000 years underwater do meditation, which means no cheating. Because suspending life air, if you cheat underwater, you drown. So that was their plan. And as they were about to enter into the lake, much to their surprise, Lord Shiva emerged from the lake. And he said, "You pleased me very much by your cooperating so nicely with one another. And so I want to give you a very special gift." What's that? The gift is some prayers or stotras that I recite to achieve spiritual perfection. And naturally, those prayers, as the painting shows, they're in relation to Krishna, but in relation to his source, who is Lord Sankarshan. There's another nice BBT painting indicating Lord Shiva appearing, and above him are Gandharvas and Kinnaras and celestial beings. And they're giving, Shiva is giving these nice prayers or song, stotras, to the Prachetas. And a similar reference is in this section of 4th Canto Bhagavatam. Shiva's worshipable Lord is Sankarshan, same as we already heard, the predominating deity and master of all integration and disintegration, as well as the origin of all material ingredients. Now, there are different descriptions of what is or who is the source of the material ingredients, or what is or who is the source of integration and disintegration. And it doesn't mean if this is right, then that's wrong. If that's right, then this is wrong. There's different descriptions or hierarchies or causes. Therefore, to get unconfused instead of confused, it's really important to know who's the cause of all causes. And that's what Sri Brahma Samhita does. Do you know the first verse of Sri Brahma Samhita? Ishvara Parama Krishna? I'm asking this young boy. You're practicing it. Very good. Let's all say it together. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karanakar. So there are different descriptions of causes, of different effects. Here's one, it's right in Brahma Samhita, where there's this feature or service that's identified with Durga, and there it says, she is the source of creation. You know that one? Shrishti, Stiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shakti, Rekha? Wait, I'm asking this young boy. Okay, you want to learn it? Okay. Let's chant it. Those of you that know can say it together. Shristi, Stiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shakti, Rekha, Chayeva, Yasya, Bhuvanani, Vibharati, Durga, Ichchadurupam, Apiyasya, Shateshtate, Sa, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Pachami. Your mother knows. She can show you, and then over the next few days you can practice it so you'll remember this nice image and the context of our whole discussion. And when you learn slokas like this when you're young, something happens, they stay with you. When you get a little older, you may get really busy with something. Maybe playing, maybe schoolwork, maybe who knows what. But because it's it'll stay. So, Shrishti, Stiti, Pralaya. Shrishti means creation. Stiti means maintenance. Pralaya means devastation. Shrishti, Stiti, Pralaya. Sadhana Shakti Eka. In this verse, she's spoken of as Chaya Devi. Chaya means shadow or reflection. So she, Durga by name, is the shadow of the Lord's internal potency. Say it again. The external energy is a shadow of the internal potency. Durga is Chaya Devi, of Lord Vishnu's internal potency known as Rama Devi. When you see paintings of Mahavishnu, where's Lakshmi? We don't see her, right? Why don't we see her? Because Rama is engaged in pastimes with Mahavishnu within. She's residing within. She's not manifest as a external form. In paintings of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, from whom a lotus comes from his navel and Brahma appears on that lotus of his navel, she's there massaging his feet, etc., because Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Rama Devi, is at his feet. So Chaya Devi, which is Goddess Durga, another name of Goddess Durga, she has this service on behalf of Govinda. Now here it says it's Sankarshan. And there it says Durga. So if it's this, it can't be that. If it's that, it can't be this, right? They're not mutually exclusive. There's cause and effect, which becomes then a cause of another fact, which becomes the cause of another fact. So they're all right. Scripturally speaking, they're all right. And then there's relationships of service one to another. So Lord Sankarshan is an expansion of the original personality of Godhead. And Lord Sankarshan has a function. He's the master of all integration and disintegration, as well as the origin of the material ingredients. Now Krishna is the origin of everything. So it's not a contradiction, but Sankarshan has his origin. And Sankarshan is the origin of Lord Shiva. And as he's manifest in this material creation. And one last, for the purpose of Lord Sankarshan's maintenance and disintegration, integration and disintegration, there's the descent of the Ganges, and Lord Shiva receives the Ganges upon his head as requested. Here's a last but not least example. Some of you may know in Sridham Mayapur. How many here have been to Mayapur? Oh, many. Okay. Those of you that haven't yet gone, you can make a special request, because it's not necessarily one of the top places that you visit, but there's this temple of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu in one form. Hari Hara Kshetra. Hari Hara is the deity. You can see in Bengali or in the English behind his crown. Hari Hara. Hara, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, is one of the 11 Rudras. Who are the 11 Rudras? The 11 Rudras were manifest by Lord Brahma. Of course, there are different days of Brahma, but in one of those days of Brahma, it's in the Bhagavatam, 11 Rudras were manifest, and they turned on Brahma. They wanted to devour him. He said, stop. This isn't the right time for destruction. You can go to the lower regions of the universe when it's time for destruction. I'll let you guys know. Until then, you can just do your nice meditation, be peaceful. Destruction comes later. So they went. And one of those 11 is named Hara. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we're all chanting. You chant? How often? Every day? Tries to. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so when we say Hare Krishna could mean any one of three things. Because Hare is vocative, it's calling. So we're calling, the Prabhupada has taught us, we're calling the internal potency of Krishna, O Radharani. So when you go to Vrindavan, you'll find the people in Vrindavan, they call out, Radhe, Radhe, even the taxi drivers, Radhe, Radhe, everyone, it's Radhe, Radhe. So it's calling Radha, in the vocative becomes Radhe. So the spiritual potency of the Supreme Lord, the internal potency, one of the names is Hara. So Hara in the vocative becomes Hare. Or Hari in the vocative becomes Hare. Or this form of Lord Shiva, one of the 11 Rudras, is not Hara, it's Hara. It's a short A. Becomes Hare, if you were to call him. So we're, by our acharyas, we understand clearly the Hare Krishna mantra is calling the internal potency, Hara, oh, energy of the Supreme Lord, please engage me in the service of Krishna, because that's what she likes to do. So here's a temple in Mayapur, where his is the older version. Notice the difference between the older deity and the newer deity. He's much more refined. And there's other deities by the side, etc., etc. So in one arm of the deity is holding the Sudarshan chakra, and the other arm he's holding his trident, Vishula. And there's a serpent over his shoulder. This description is found in Padma Purana, Bhumikanda Padma Purana, where Lord Shiva is speaking to King Yayati, and he says to King Yayati, "O Lord of Kings, I have no doubt there is certainly no difference between Vishnu and myself." So this is the non-difference aspect. When we know from Lord Chaitanya's teachings, all things, not just Lord Shiva, all things have a relationship of oneness and difference with the source. Correct? Achintya, Beda, Abeda, Tattva. So this is emphasizing from Padma Purana the non-difference, the Abeda feature. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the form of Rudra, and Rudra is the form of Vishnu. You should know, O king, that Rudra is always the same as Vishnu. This is emphasis on the non-difference feature, which they, in Mayapur, manifest in the form of a deity, Hari and Hara. And there's a pastime connected. And the pastime connected is Lord Shiva was engaged in his dance in glorification of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu became so pleased, he began dancing with Lord Shiva. They danced and danced and danced and became one entity. You know, somebody that had been to Mayapur 2 weeks ago told me that's when they went 2 weeks ago to Mayapur, that's what the pujari told them. I guess the pujari, or maybe the tour guide told them. There's a pastime. It's also found in Navadvip Dham Mahatmya by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the history behind this deity. But the history behind the deity has something to do with the tattva of exactly what our topic is, Sankarshan, or Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. A little different conversation than our normal classes. So I gathered these passages, Lord Shiva's interactions with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Shiva's interactions with Krishna, And even subsequently, I found some additional ones than what we spoke on Monday. And Lord Ramachandra, Lord Sankarshan, and he's a very, very important person. So Shiva Ratra is a very important festival. It's not at the center stage of our Vaishnava worship, because the center stage of our Vaishnava worship is Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes, Govinda. That's at the center. But what is at the center also has rays that come out from that center, and Lord Shiva is a very important personality, certainly, in our Vaishnava way of life. Any discussion? Yes. That was quick.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. I have two questions, if I may.
Sure.
So when you talked about how Lord Ramachandra displays the universal form to Lord Shiva, what was the reason behind showing the universal form?
It doesn't, the context is not given. It just makes mention that that happened. I invite you, if you want to do some research and you can find the context and the reason, let me know.
Sure, I'll let you know.
Okay.
And then, so my second question is about what you were talking about right now with you know, the description of Lord Vishnu and Rudra to be the same in quality, but there's also descriptions of how Lord Vishnu has a certain number of qualities which is more than Lord
Yes.
Shiva. So how do we go about understanding that?
You're a scholar. That's the difference part. There's the oneness, and then there's the difference part. Like living entities. Qualitatively, they're one. Quantitatively different. Now, to say qualitatively one, how many qualities do living entities have? What percentage of those qualities of Vishnu are within the living entities? And a small quantity at that. So quantitatively and qualitatively different. So how can we say qualitatively one? I'm asking your question back to you. Just the form is different. Because it's a portion. And similarly, the oneness is neither qualitatively nor quantitatively one, because their tattva is different. But it's an aspect of this, the oneness between Lord Shiva and Vishnu. An aspect of, but not 100%. Scholarship, it gets an A+.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Behind you. Hare Krishna.
How's everything? I have a little doubt when you talk about Mount Sumeru in relation to all the universe. I forgot from the Bhagavatam. I haven't read that in a
Speak
long
slowly,
time.
please.
In regard to Mount Sumeru,
Mount Sumeru, okay.
in relation to all the universes, where is located? I remember that I read that.
Where
a long
is it
time ago.
located?
Yeah, in regard to all the universes. In
It's
relation to all the universes.
it's not in. Let's rephrase the language of your question. In each universe, there are 14 planetary systems. One of those 14 planetary systems is Bhumandala. And Bhumandala has different tracts of land. One of them is this central tract of land, where Sumeru resides, but it's just one part of many parts in Bhumandala, and each universe has its own Sumeru. So it sounded like the question you were asking is, where's Sumeru in all of the universes? But it has, the Sumeru has a place in each universe, and then another Sumeru in another universe, and another Bhumandala with Sumeru in another universe. Am I answering your question or no?
I know it
It talks of what?
In the Bhagavatam, we see that we have designs and descriptions and how is
Yeah,
the
but that's
structure of
one
the verse.
universe. And then there's how many universes? A lot. So each universe has one Sumeru, and then the next universe has its Sumeru, etc. That's just the structure. Way over here. Where's your son? You have your son carry the microphone from place to place.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. So I have the question regarding the Valmiki Ramayana. You mentioned again Dashrath Maharaj comes from Swarga, not Vaikuntha. So I think I heard you say in another lecture, it was a temporary place before he went to Vaikuntha.
I don't recall saying that. My understanding is that Dasarath, as Lord Ramachandra, and the whole of that royal family, they're eternal residents in Ayodhya, which is in the Vaikuntha realm. Now, if there's some passage in some reference somewhere that said he made a pit stop on the way, I don't recall. I don't recall. And it may be that there is such a thing, but I don't recall it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Now, one of the things that just sharing, I know and have an attraction much more for Krishna than Ramachandra. But I know three people that have an incredible affinity for Ramachandra. It's reverse. They certainly know about Krishna and have love for Krishna, but they have particular love for Lord Ramachandra. So when it comes to questions like this, I don't know, but I ask them, because commonly, if there is such a thing as what you said, I said, they'll know where it's from. So how about this? You send me a little reminder, and I'll send these learned Ramayana lovers the question and see if they get an answer. And if they get an answer, I'll send you back their answer, and then you can circulate it to others.
Yes.
So we'll know, is there such a statement from somewhere that said he made a stop in the heavenly realm on his way to the Vaikuntha realm?
Yes, I will do
Okay.
that. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a nice class. Greatly appreciate it. We had a class, I guess it was last Friday, and I read something, and I was wondering if you could help me unpack this a little bit. I read it, but we didn't really discuss it in full, and I just wanted to throw it in your direction and see if you have some understanding. In different kalpas, sometimes very elevated jivas, or sometimes Lord Vishnu himself take up the position of Lord Shiva.
Yes.
Okay,
And Lord Brahma.
great. So, good. But the one known as Sadashiva is beyond the reach of the modes of material nature
Yes.
or gunas.
Yes.
He is in the vast expansion of the Supreme Lord Vishnu.
Yes.
Sadashiva is also fountainhead of Lord Shiva, one of the guna avatars.
Yes.
Therefore, Sadashiva is superior to Lord Brahma, equal to Lord Vishnu,
Yes.
and superior to and separate from the jivas who are conditioned by the three gunas.
Yes.
So when they're referring to the Lord Shiva, that is sometimes an elevated jiva, or sometimes Lord Vishnu himself, are they referring to the guna avatar, Lord Shiva? In this particular, because he has so many manifestations.
Say the specific. I'm familiar with that passage,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm saying yes, yes, yes. Now, just express the question again. Is this that? Say it again.
Okay. The elevated jiva, or sometimes Lord Vishnu himself, take up the position of Lord Shiva. Are they, I think this is from the Bhagavatamrita,
Yes.
are they, is Sanatana Goswami referring to Lord Shiva, the guna avatar,
Who does what?
who is sometimes an elevated jiva?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That was my doubt.
Because to do what the guna avatars do, they're empowered to do what they do. As there are Shakti Avesh avatars, that means they're living entities or forms of the Lord who are empowered to do specific functions, thus Shakti Avesh avatars. Similarly, the guna avatars, they're empowered by the Supreme Lord to do what they do. Like commonly, but not always, Lord Brahma is a jiva who is empowered to do the sub-creation function. Lord Shiva is empowered to do what Lord Shiva does, which is bring about the destruction of the universe. So whether that's the guna avatar function, the destruction function, the guna of tamaguna, brings about destruction and devastation. So the answer is, my understanding is yes. No, that's the exception, and the rule is Lord Shiva is what Lord Shiva is normally, and then there's the exceptional situation, which is what's being described here.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you. So I have little doubt, like how Lord Vishnu is different than Krishna, or both are same? Because since childhood we heard that Vishnu has like 10 avatar,
Yes.
and Lord Ram and Krishna is also one of them, right? So my question is, how Lord Vishnu is different than Krishna, or both are same?
Classic. Let me support what you just said to edify the uncertainty. Or just the same thing said a little more explicitly. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1. There's 6 questions of the sages of Naimisharanya to Sutta. And Sutta gives answers. 6 questions, 6 answers. One of the 6 questions is, please describe the forms of the Lord as they appear in creation, in this material universe. Avatars. To respond to that, chapter 3 begins by describing the Purusha avatars, because that's one of the categories, 6 categories of avatars. And from the Purusha avatars come other avatars, including the Leela avatars. Not just 10 principle, but it says specifically unlimited. And in that list of avatars of Vishnu, Krishna is there. Rama is there. Many others are there. And then it says they're like waves in an ocean or of a river, too many to count. And then comes the number one most important verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. It has a special name called Paribhasha Sutra, which says, of all these incarnations, one of them is the source of all these incarnations. And that's Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Now, let me ask you a question. We're all seated in the room. Before we got seated in the room, did we exist before? Of course. Most of us came through the door. We came through the door, now we're sitting in the room, but we existed before. Similarly, did Krishna exist eternally in the spiritual world, and then he entered into this creation through the door? Vishnu, as avatar of Vishnu. But he's, according to this very important verse, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna is the source of Vishnu and all the avatars of Vishnu and everything. So now back to your question. They're same and different. Qualitatively, same. But one is the source and the other is emanation from the source. And then there was this other question our nice scholarly devotee was asking. There are qualities of Vishnu that are less than the qualities of Krishna. Krishna has 4 special qualities. Vishnu doesn't have a flute, etc. There's 4. And that flute is not just, a musical instrument. It has transcendental function that Lord Vishnu doesn't have, etc. So they're the same and yet different. And the origin of everything is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, who then appears as an avatar of Vishnu. So one can correctly say Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. And one can correctly say Krishna is the source of Vishnu and of all avatars. And they're not contradictory. It does require having the big picture, which is presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, and having good guidance to navigate your way to the big picture. But now back to your question. They're the same and different. Double talk. Not double talk. It's a correct understanding of the relationship between them. Vishnu is the source of the creation, and Vishnu is an expansion of the source of everything, who is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, who is an avatar of Vishnu, or appears as. Just like when we leave, we're going to go back to where we came from. He's going to stay probably, but we'll probably go through the door.
Thank you.
It's subtle, and it certainly requires good guidance, and it requires faith, and it requires, in this good guidance, how do you put the puzzle pieces together? How does it make one cohesive puzzle? And it takes qualified disciplic succession personalities that adhere to disciplic succession message. And then it becomes clear. If you don't understand it, don't worry about it. Just, go back and visit it again. You'll come across it in the Bhaktivedanta purports. You'll come across it again, and then you just, oh, that's what it's saying. Especially when we're used to hearing something else. No, there's an advantage to being born in America. You don't know nothing about nothing. And you guys, you know something about something. But that something about something may not match the absolute truth. So you have to do some, go to the chiropractor and get some adjustments of your spine. Because it's a little uncomfortable. So being a blank slate, but wanting to know, that helps. Thinking that you already know, then you hear something that's other than what you already know is challenging. So there's where faith comes. Faith in what? Well, it's something I heard since I was a kid, and there are lots of other kids that said the same thing, so I have faith in it. And then you have to switch horses to the disciplic succession horse. And then it becomes very clear. But it takes some faith, and faith by good association, by proper spiritual practice, and by hearing again and again. And being inquisitive, it's not like there's a statement, you're just supposed to close your eyes and say yes. Keep asking until it's clear. That's the method. And then you hear, and then you hear, and you hear. Oh, okay. It's a cohesive picture. Yeah, you have something?
Thank you for the class. I have a similar question to what he asked. We see that when we read the Bhagavatam, and so we hear that before Lord Krishna comes, he says that he tells all the demigods to descend first.
Yes.
And in various positions. But then when we are reading the pastimes, we hear these are Krishna's eternal associates. So,
Well, some are, and some are demigods. There's a mix.
So does that mean that the eternal associates, they also have an expansion as as demigods?
Yes. It's not like they hang up a sign that says, we're out to lunch. Back again after Krishna's pastimes close up. Expansions of them. The demigods, the same thing. The demigods, the Sanskrit word is angsa. Expansions of, a partial expansion of. It's not like the demigods are, signed, I'm out to lunch. Krishna's pastimes are going on, see you later, when it's over. An expansion, a partial expansion of them. Now, can jivas, question. The answer is yes. Can jivas, under the order of the Supreme Lord, make a partial expansion of themselves? Yes. It's not a normal function. Jivas don't just go off expanding themselves into other partial expansions of themselves. But under the order of the Supreme Lord, yes. And when Krishna was ready to end his pastimes, and similarly Ramchandra, ready to end his pastimes, Krishna sent the demigods back to their abode, the partial expansion personalities back to their abode. It's complete. There's details and details and details, but the details are there. And it takes our acharyas to help us identify and then explain the detail. But it's one of the things that Krishna did. He sent the demigods back and his eternal associates to their eternal abode, to their eternal position.
So do the eternal associates also have their own expansions in as demigods, or no, they just came straight? Because I was getting a little confused because, for example, Vasudeva, Devaki.
Get unconfused. It's real easy. To assist the Lord in his pastimes, they can do as the Lord requires. let's just, keep it really simple, besides the confusion thing. Is Balaram with Krishna in the spiritual world eternally? Yes. Now, wait a minute. The doubt saying person may say, there's Balaram and there's Krishna having pastimes on earth. So you're telling me that they're eternally performing pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan at the same time? Yes. And the eternal associates? Yes. And the demigods? Yes. So what you're telling me? Yes. The Lord's pastimes, it's a big party. And it's an opportunity to serve. And so they like service. Under the Lord's instruction, they can do.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. So my question is, recently, one of the greatest Vaishnavacharya in Ayodhya called His Holiness Ramabhadracharya. So there was some controversial discussion between ISKCON and Maharaj from Ayodhya. So in one of the YouTube channel, one of the ISKCON disciples,
Speak slowly. One of the,
YouTube channel,
oh boy.
one ISKCON devotee made a statement that Lord Ram has 60 qualities and Krishna has 64 qualities. Then the Maharaj, who is in Ayodhya, he openly criticized ISKCON for making that kind of statements and misleading people. So he said both Lord Ram and Lord Krishna has absolutely 64 qualities and they're both one and same. So my question is like in the context, as a Vaishnava follower, so how we need to see two great Vaishnava philosophies having slight misunderstandings like this?
Welcome to the material world. The ISKCON devotee wasn't pulling something out of the air. The ISKCON devotee was drawing from Rupa Goswami's writings. And Rupa Goswami isn't pulling something from the air. He's not slapping the followers of Ramanujacharya in the face. He's taking statements from Scripture and assembling those statements of Scripture to say what he said or write what he wrote. Now, there's another way of responding between this great Acharya and Ayodhya, contemporary Acharya, and the ISKCON follower. If the ISKCON follower says something he's not familiar with, there are different ways of responding. Now, one of the ways is what he did. But there are other ways of responding. And amongst elevated souls, I'm sure an elevated Acharya in Ayodhya, the contemporary Ayodhya, is well aware there are different views of Vishnu Tattva or Krishna Tattva, or even Ram Tattva. They're different views. So to be intolerant of a view other than my own view is a little surprising. It's not like shame on him or something like that, but it's a little surprising. So his response can be different. I mean, just like the ISKCON devotee could say, in the line of Madhvacharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, and he gave teachings to great personalities, and they assembled scripture. So this is the authority that we follow, we accept, and we follow. And it says what I said. And he could say, well, the disciplic succession in which I have appeared, it says these things, it doesn't say those things. And so there's a beta, a distinction. The Sanskrit is shakha beta. Shakha means branch. Now there's some things, for example, there's some things that Madhvacharya wrote that differ. Many things, they're identical. there's some things that he wrote and stood by in our disciplic succession, what to speak of another disciplic succession, that there's a different presentation. I don't have to list them. They're pretty surprising, the differences. But it's okay. And I don't have to be bent out of shape and say Madhvacharya is out to lunch. He's in our disciplic succession, and there's this distinction, shakha, beta, branch, that's different within the same line. So what to speak of another line? So I'm a little surprised that there was such a strident response. Whatever the words were, I'm sure it was, I mean, from what I'm gathering at least, strong. You people are wrong. Instead of saying the disciplic line in which I have received my knowledge, which is an authentic disciplic line, it says that. Or says this, not that. But then he cites his authority, and the follower of Rupa Goswami, who's the follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cites his authority, and the authorities can have a different view, and it's quite okay. It does not, if it's not this, it can't be that. If it's that, it can't be this. I'm surprised. Fourth time, I'm surprised that he would take that position. You're wrong. No, he could say, please provide me the scriptural authority to support this statement. That's different than saying you're wrong. And if there's scriptural authority for this and for that, what do? They're different perceptions or receptions of disciplic succession message. And it's quite okay. Quite okay. Yeah.
Green light. That was a very nice explanation. I've often heard that perspective, there's the Supreme Lord is like a jewel, like a diamond, and you place it one way, you see yellow reflected light. Place it another way, you see red reflected light. So the Supreme Lord is so unlimited in his potency that there is a perspective according to realizations and
Yes.
Levels of understanding. And so even amongst our acharyas, sometimes it will be said, such and such acharya has said like this, but yet another Sridhar Swami says like that. And it's reconciled in that way, that
Yes.
they have different perspectives according to their level of, degree of advancement. Like the whole thing between Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, and that little pastime, which showed that Rupa Goswami was actually, in the eternal lineage, he was the head of Sanatana Goswami, and that pastime, which demonstrated to Sanatana Goswami that Rupa Goswami was Rupa Manjari. So that's the way I've always heard it explained, that the perspective is there. And it's interesting because I have a friend who's a devout Catholic Christian, and we've been having dialogue about, Christianity, not versus Krishna consciousness, but Christianity. And quite often they will quote the verse, I am the way, I am the life, I am the truth. No one shall come to the Father except through me.
Which is true.
And that's exactly what I said. I said to him, every religion says that.
And it's true.
Right? You have to follow your path. If you
Yeah.
commit to a path, you
You
have
can't
to.
go to God without the representative of God.
Right.
That's true.
So it's just perspective, and what we can do as Vaishnavas is respect the perspective that's coming from us through a Ram Bhakta or a Vishnu Bhakta or a Shiva Bhakta, and respect and understand it, that this is a valid perspective coming through their realization and their acharyas.
There's a nice, amongst many of the nice verses of Sri Brahma Samhita, there's one, Yadrashi Shraddha Siddhi Bhavati Tadrashi. Yadrashi Shraddha means faith. Siddhi Bhavati Tadrashi. So that I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. Yadrashi Tadrashi. As this, so that. Like Yavat Tavat. So according to Shraddha, Siddhi Bhavati. Bhakti Siddhanta's English translation is realization arises. Siddhi Bhavati. Bhavati. Voila. It manifests. And realization manifests according to one's faith. So then the question comes, can you verify this realization in light of Scripture? Because that's, Guru Sadhu Shastra. Shastra is the final authority. Rules over Guru and Sadhu. So what's the scriptural authority for this Siddhi Bhavati, this realization? And if there's scriptural authority, and it's not just, hodgepodge, then it can be accepted. You okay with that? Yes. There's a classic example of this, and I think I'm going to end with this. Classic example is Bhagavad Gita. Contemporaries, in fact, a disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was Baladev Vidyabhusan. And in one verse in Bhagavad Gita, there's a Sanskrit phrase that is read this way by one and that way by the other. It's describing the armies that were assembled were so vast, and they were so vast, that there was unlimited strength. And then the other says limited strength. From the same word in Sanskrit. And one is at the feet of the other, as his teacher, his guru, who had implicit faith in. He trained him. And he said this, and the other one said that. Is it okay? Provided there's in line with the disciplic succession and authorized by Scripture. That one can, this nice example. A jewel, you see this color, a jewel, you see that color. Under the authority of Shastra. It's perfectly okay. Okay, we'll end there. Thank you very much. You're all very patient. Srila